Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman, and to those of you who have joined me before, welcome back. And if you are new here, I am very happy to have you. On today's show, we have the fantastic trans icon, Supergirl herself, Nicole Maines is here at Gaze Reading, and our guest gay reader for the day, fabulously queer musician, Sammy Rae is here of Sammy Rae and the Friends. If you didn't know, all of our conversations can be found over on YouTube. The link to the YouTube can be found both in the show notes and also on the link tree, which is on our Instagram page. You can follow us at Gaze Reading over on Instagram, and you could like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps the algorithm and helps other folks find Gaze Reading as well. And if the spirit moves you, leave us a 5-star review. It is tremendously helpful, and thank you to those of you who have already done so. I am ecstatic. Some of you have heard this already, but I'm so thrilled that I'm partnering with Aardvark Book Club to provide an exclusive introductory discount. New members in the United States can join Aardvark Book Club with the discount code Gaze Reading at checkout and get their very first book for $4, which includes free shipping. If you're unfamiliar, Aardvark Book Club is a monthly book subscription program. You can pause at any time. You can cancel at any time. They have 5 to 6 fantastic new books every single month that you can choose from. Some you've heard of and you've been anxiously waiting for. Some you've never heard of, but you know that they're going to be great because Aardvark Book Club is so fantastic. Highly recommend their Instagram at Aardvark Book Club. They're so fun to follow on Instagram. And that, again, aardvarkbookclub.com with the code Gaze Reading. And now, welcome to Gaze Reading, Nicole Maines. I saw the cover, and I was like, I want to be her best friend, because this is hilarious.
Thank you very much. It was fun, that cover shoot. We did a whole bunch of different looks and a whole bunch of, different glamour shots. And then right at the end, I was like, yeah, can you guys hose me down and really fuck up my makeup? And those are the pictures I ended up liking the best.
It's so funny. It just says so much about you as a person. You're like, I don't take myself too seriously. I'm funny, and
Thank you.
read the book because those are the things that you're going to get. So I love a cover that is honest. This thing comes up in your book that devastated me. And it is apparently that people hate people who love puns.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was common knowledge.
It is?
We get so much hate.
We do?
We really do.
Is it that I love puns so much that I tune them out?
I think it's a love hate. I think it's an endearing hate. I think it's the eye rolling and the groaning, and that's why you
I know.
Not the groan.
Exactly. Groan for me.
Groan for me.
Anyway, this was news to me, and I was devastated by it.
I'm so sorry to be the one to break that news to you.
It says a lot about my friend group, if I'm being honest.
That you're all terrible people? Yeah.
No, about how they treat me.
Oh.
It's like, oh, now I know. Now I get it. Something else I had to ask you about, again, because this book, there's a lot going on. We could talk about, your life. There's a lot of things in your life. So this can go so many places, but something in particular.
Well, reading the book, I love a digression. So we truly can't go all over.
We literally haven't even, we're digressing from even starting.
It's what I do. I don't know why you're acting surprised. She brings it to you every season.
I know. Yes, you're absolutely right. Well, and that's what's so funny. I say all the time whenever I read a memoir, I'm just like, I know everything about you and you know nothing about me. But I also love a digression. So here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about your hotel keycard collection.
I can do you one better. Give me 2 seconds.
Shut up.
Oh, give me 2 seconds.
Oh my God.
This is a little thing my dad and I made.
That is so cool.
It's fun. Yeah, it goes in my bathroom.
Is it like
It's
shellacked?
just like, yeah. Yeah, they're all up there and then they're like
Oh
shellac.
my God. Do you still have,
But I get afraid.
do you have
I
more?
have a lot more.
Oh,
I have so many more.
wait, how did this start? Are you just going to hold it the whole time?
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool.
I got some good ones on there. I got like season 1 Batwoman. I've got some Riverdale. I've got Bleed for the Throne, Game of Thrones, right after that Red Wedding.
How did you start collecting them? Why did you start collecting them?
Well, I used to travel so much
Mm.
when my dad and I would first start doing these like speaking gigs, that I'd always, it wasn't intentional. Like I just had key cards and I started holding on to them. And then I just was traveling so much and I was staying in so many hotels that I just sort of started collecting them. I think my reasoning is kind of the opposite of that old John Mulaney stand-up where like the kid like collected like old family photos and shit from other people's house parties. And he's like, why do you do this? And he's like, it's the one thing you can never replace. And this is the opposite. This is the one thing you can absolutely replace.
Yes, that's fair.
It has zero value. It's just stupid.
Oh, I love that.
Like me.
I love that so much. And I'm obsessed that it has turned into bathroom art. I love bathroom art.
Yeah. Well, it's just something interesting to look at while you poop.
That's all we need. Something to read and something to look at.
100%.
Coming soon to a Marriott near you. In every bathroom is Nicole Maines' book.
Right where I belong.
Okay, I typically would ask everyone what an elevator pitch is for their book. But like your elevator pitch is basically, this is my life story. But if you have something like synthesized.
Yeah. I mean, I think the elevator for this is like a very candid, hopefully funny, look into someone who has never really been in charge of telling their own story and now gets to really just run off to the races in a digression-ridden, pun-filled, stupid recount of events.
Yeah.
That's hopefully heartfelt and endearing in parts.
I would 100% agree.
But like with some actual stuff that's good to know peppered in, like actual good queer history, because who's going to teach it to us if not us? They're not going to teach it to us in school.
Yeah, I mean,
it's only elective by the time you get to college.
Well, and not only queer history, but, my husband and I talk all the time about how we don't have representation really for us in many generations above us, right? So we're not like looking at dozens and dozens of older gay men living a fulfilling life into their, late adulthood. You know what I mean? So like there's also something too about just like documenting us as humans.
Yeah, getting to tell our stories and getting to put it on paper. Yeah, I don't know, like hopefully get banned in Florida.
Yes, girl, get banned in Florida. Okay, grim fairy tales versus Disney stories. This is part of the journey that we're on in this book.
Yeah.
First, I find it hilarious.
Speaking of Florida,
talk about grim. You literally grew up in the woods, which I'm obsessed with.
Thank you.
Did you feel like a magical woodland creature always?
Let me tell you what I did. I surely did. Absolutely.
Period. Next
you
question.
To say the wrong. You say the wrong. Yeah, I mean it was great. It was beautiful. We got to playing hide and seek and manhunt and shit in the woods, and then we make this big sledding ramp down our back porch into the woods, and it'd go around and we'd coat it down with a hose and let it freeze overnight so it was nice and slick.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun.
You talk about your own life story being this fairy tale that you you relate yourself very endearingly to the Little Mermaid. What I find so interesting is Disney sugarcoats those fairy tales.
Well, surprise, surprise.
No, of course. But like you realize, I think at some point, while you might long for Disney, you realize, wait, that's not actually real life.
Yeah. Well, for me, and the big thing going into this book and wanting to write it was this feeling with Becoming Nicole, which had come out in 2015, ended on this very, very high note of, yeah, and then she went off to college and she got surgery and she had a boyfriend and everything was great, happily ever after, and her wildest dreams came true. And then quickly coming to terms, not quickly, prolonged and sadly coming to terms with, oh, surgery didn't go the way I wanted it to. It was decidedly awful. And I feel like that's my fault.
Mm.
And having to come to terms with that felt very like this was not the happy ending I was promised.
Mhm.
It was not the happy ending that we talked about at the end of Becoming Nicole. So I think that's really like where the, the grim Disney divergence happens.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
It's like, oh yeah, and then Sleeping Beauty, and he kissed her and she woke up and he definitely didn't assault her while she was asleep.
Well, not even just that, but like we don't talk about what happens after that. We even
Yeah,
at the end of the Disneyfication version, right? Like, so they wake up and she's
yeah, we get Mulan too. Shit gets dark.
I think that's maybe the one sequel I have not seen. I do love Little Mermaid too, though. I could still sing you all the songs.
Little Mermaid 2 eats.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Morgana, Ursula's crazy sister.
Yes.
Oh.
Titanic Tip and Daring Dash.
Mm.
Anyway.
That was like, that's the, I think that Disney sequel is phenomenal. And I think Cinderella 3, like a twist in time or whatever it was, where the prince is like just a crazy unhinged character because they didn't quite know how to give Prince Charming a
I've
personality, so
never
they just made him
seen
crazy.
Cinderella 3.
It's so wacky.
Oh my God. Of course it is. Because, like,
It's so
where do you
wacky.
go? Nowhere.
Insane.
But so it's interesting because, like, even post happily ever after, like, is there even such a
Yeah.
thing? Right? Because,
Well,
like,
exactly.
we keep living.
Well, exactly. But we as queer people were told about all of this, like, it gets better messaging.
Mhm.
And I think for me growing up, I kind of took that, and it's my fault perhaps, but I was like, yeah, it's going to get better and it's going to stay better.
Mm.
The fuck it will. And it just like, not only did it not get better, it just got so vehemently worse that I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I felt like I couldn't talk about it because if I was talking about it, one, I was making it real. And two, I was adding fuel to the fire of all of the naysayers who were, oh, you're going to regret it. Don't do it. You're mutilating yourself. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, she did, actually.
Yeah.
I regret going to her,
Right.
not the surgery. But it was like, it felt like I couldn't talk about it because it was my fault, because I was going to be adding fuel to the fire and I didn't want to let anybody down.
Yeah.
And I felt like, especially after Becoming Nicole came out and we were doing these press tours and we were doing these signings and all these gigs, and I was having all of these people come up to me and they were saying, oh my God, well, do you just feel amazing? Oh my God, does it just, oh, are you just on cloud 9? It's like, what do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm great. This feels great.
It's
awesome. I definitely do not want to be dead.
right. Well, that's what's so funny, right? It's like, compared to what? Right? It gets better compared to the alternative, but like we
Yeah.
all have our daily struggles as humans in general. But yeah.
So more than anything, I really just wanted this book to be like, not necessarily how to be okay with not being okay, but just like recognizing, I guess, and accepting that there is a pendulum, that there is an ebb and a flow.
Totally.
And sometimes it gets better, but that does not mean it's going to stay better.
No, and you know, the full title of the book is It Gets Better Except When It Gets Worse. And then it gets better again, and then it gets worse again, and then it gets better again. Right? Like that's
well, it's funny that you say that because originally I wanted the title to be much longer. I wanted to be It Gets Better Except When It Gets Worse, which is most of the time. So gear up, Brenda.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And there was, and they were like, it's a little bit too long. I was like, what are we doing this for?
Oh my God. Whatever. Not Oprah.
Okay.
You talk about Peter Pan being the trans mask prince that Neverland always deserved, and we don't talk about that enough.
We
So
don't.
let's talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it, but also what's there to say?
Right, there's a period.
The cut, first of all, the cut. I've never seen someone with that haircut who wasn't trans mask. First of all, I've never seen someone wear that outfit who wasn't trans mask.
Not everyone can pull it off.
Wore my short kings.
Heard it here. If you haven't read the book yet, this is the first time you're hearing it. Peter Pan, trans mask prince.
Do the math, is all I'm saying.
Something that is very alarming as an adult is that you address in your book is that we're all just faking it till we make it.
Yeah.
And I have a long conversation about that with the designer Jonathan Adler on a few episodes ago. And we basically are just like, we're all making it up as we go along.
Oh yeah. 100%. I don't know what's going on.
No, but like at what point did you realize, oh, I just need to like keep being?
I don't know if I really realized that. I think I'm still trying. I think I'm still maybe hoping against hope that it's gonna click at some point. I'm gonna be like, oh my god.
But it won't. But you just gotta keep doing you. And when did that click? When are you like, I'm just gonna keep being me?
Well, I remember I was having a conversation with Kyler Lee on Supergirl, and I was asking her, 'cause the imposter syndrome was so tremendous for me on Supergirl, and I felt like such a fraud. I was talking to her just about all the feelings I was having, and she's like, oh, that doesn't go away. Yeah. And that was like so not what I wanted to hear from like, I was hoping she was gonna have this like, you know, seasoned actor, like, oh, I was on Grey's Anatomy, darling, please, like, one day you'll dead. No, she's like, oh, yeah, you're fucked.
And that,
which is so, or first of all, which is so, but yeah, I was like, oh, fucking shit. But another good piece of advice I got was, from David Ajala, who was doing Manchester Black on our show. And I was stressing about like how to do some line reading or something. And he's like, look, whatever way you say it is how your character would say it. And I was just like, it felt like such a stupid come to Jesus moment for me. Yeah, that makes actually perfect sense. Wow, I'm really freaking out about nothing. But then I continued to freak out about nothing for another 3 years. So, like, you know, did I learn my lesson? Probably.
Well, but to be fair, I won't say I still freak out about things that I say or how I said something.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So like, it makes sense that you feel the same way for your character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it was more coming from a place of like, is Nicole saying this or is Nia saying this? Well, I need to be in character. Well, what's my character? Am I in character? What's my moment before? Do I have wait, hang on. Let me start from scratch. Just overthinking. And overthinking and overcompensating. Because again, I felt so like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I shouldn't be here. Like, I am so inexperienced and all of these people are so fucking good and so talented and so good at their craft. And I'm everything that they are not. And
it's interesting to hear you say that and for that to come up in the book, because the beginning of the book, you are so self-assured.
Yeah, right.
You know, but it's nice. Well, that's part of the it gets worse part.
Real. Turns out your sense of self, your confidence can turn to mush after the fact.
But then you build it back up.
And then you build it back up. But I mean, it's true of everyone. As children, we are given no reason to be self-conscious. We are given no reason to think that we can't succeed or that we are not who we say we are. And it's through other people and other people inundating us with their opinions and their bullshit that we don't need to hear that we learn to apologize for ourselves. We learn to make ourselves smaller. We learn to try to take up less space. We try to conform. We try to hide whatever gender deviance or you know, otherwise is going on with us. I'm sure there's some correlation between, you know, growing up as any marginalized identity and then going out into the world and trying to succeed, but you don't think you can because you have been given no reason to believe that someone like you should succeed in the position that you're at. And that's something that we do see with a lot of particularly women of color, particularly queer women. Because we're all told to just take up less space and to apologize for ourselves. So when we finally do get the big break and we finally do get there, we can't even fucking enjoy it because we're just hearing all of the voices who have said, you can't do this. You're not talented. You're not funny. Why are you here? Maybe actually just kill yourself.
Yeah. That's the funny part of the book, the joyful part of the book.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's not funny, but it is true.
I obviously was kidding. Yeah. And in that space, you talk about coming out and how coming out means exchanging the pain of suppressing your true self for that of public scrutiny and harassment.
Real. Yeah.
And I don't think people...
Sometimes it do be a lateral move.
and yet...
Sometimes I'm like, well, damn, at least the closet was quiet.
I know, but it was so dark.
I know,
but it was so dark. At least there's light now.
Yeah.
But no, it's such an interesting thing to think about. And I think when you have people, particularly straight, terrible bigots, saying things like, whether sexuality is a choice or whatever, it's like,
whatever it is that they say.
Why would we choose that? Why would we do that?
Seriously, thank you. Again, another great piece of advice. I was Candace Patton. It's one of my favorite things that someone has ever said. We were talking again about my writing and like just imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if the story's good enough. And she's like, girl, if you are ever feeling just like as a woman that you're not good enough or that you're, are you worthy of, the career that you're, just remember,
men are working.
And because the bar is so low. Some of the shit that gets made, some of the shit that gets published. But for women, we second guess it so much. And as queer people, we have to be infallible in what we put out into the world because it's under so much scrutiny. And then some people just be saying stuff with the most confidence. And they are doing the dumbest shit.
I know. It's very perspective building.
What was what's his face said he was gonna fucking fight Mike Tyson or something?
Oh,
like what the fuck, really?
On that platform that we won't talk about.
Well, even that perfect example. I'm gonna buy this for however many $1 billion, and I'm gonna decrease its value. Like these guys are so stupid, and we're here beating ourselves up over it and trying to bend backwards into impossible positions to cater to people who I'm not sure can spell.
Fair. So you did do it. You did come out of the other end. You are that performer, right? So while, yes, the pendulum does swing, the imposter syndrome doesn't necessarily go away. Maybe it just gets better.
Yeah. Abstinent flows and I could go through shit.
But do you, now that you can hold this in your hand, did that transform anything for you? Strangely,
no. It's weird. I mean, I am in such a mode right now where maybe the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction that I'm not really taking time to be like, wow, this is something that I did. Because by the time I got the galley copies, I was working on my Suicide Squad run. Yeah. So I was like, huh? What? No, shut up. My entire plot's changed, and I need to figure out how to get these motherfuckers on a plane by the end of issue 3.
Right, because you're like, oh, the book writing was so 6 months ago.
100%. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, because now I'm like, it's very good that it's done. I'm really, really excited to get to be talking about it now, and I'm excited for it to be out in the world, and I really hope that people have a fun time reading it. I hope they learn a couple of things from it that they didn't know before. At the very least, I hope it makes them chuckle a couple of
Hmm.
times.
Can
Um,
confirm.
Thank you. Uh, but yeah, for me, I'm so like in this mode right now of just like, all right, just on to the next thing. What are we working on next? Let's just keep moving, one foot in front of the
Mm.
other. Because what else can you do?
Well, and that's a really, I think, important reminder of life moving forward,
Yeah,
and how not pointless, but how reflecting on what has already happened is not worth the time because there's so
yeah.
much to do moving forward.
I think it's good to take and probably on release day. I'll maybe I'll go like out and get a drink or something.
Yeah.
It is
But
important to give yourself
but
moments to
that's
like give yourself
also
your own clap.
that's present,
Yeah,
right? You'd celebrate
yeah,
release day.
yeah. I think yeah, celebrate your
Yeah.
victories, and because fuck, it's hard out here, and anytime that anybody creates something, and that's hard, and that takes energy, and that's something that should be applauded because it's easier to just not do anything.
Hmm. Complete non sequitur,
Love.
something we share in common. I peaked in 5th grade when I was class president.
Ah. You know, here's the funny thing. We had a flagpole that one of the fifth graders every morning would go and raise the flag.
Uh-huh.
And that flagpole was so rusted and so old and it was so impossible. And I ran on a platform of, you guys, as a fifth grader, I know how hard this is. This is a community issue that I care about. And I promise to see to it that this gets resolved so that future grades will not have the same struggles of
Do we
actually
know if that flagpole has since changed?
beats the fuck out of
How do we
me.
find out?
I never thought about it. I'm sure between the time that I was in fifth grade and now, I would hope that it's been
Girl, budget
changed.
cuts.
But yeah, I remember running and winning on a platform of something that I never had any intention to do.
If this was a sitcom and we were recording this on a sitcom, it would cut to a 5th grader like struggling to pull up.
And you know what, frankly? I hope somewhere they are.
Poor kid. You got it, kid. It'll get better. And then it'll get worse.
It'll get
It'll get
better.
better.
Exactly. Hey, I had to do it, so do
Oh my
you.
God, it's so funny. You also talk about superheroes and comic books always
Oh,
historically being
oh
political.
yeah. Well, look, we've been knew that media literacy is fucking dead.
When someone contemporary, if you're looking at a comic from 40, 50 years ago, and you actually read it and think about what was happening at the time,
Yeah.
it's very reminiscent to how things are right
Yeah.
now.
Everything's informed by what's happening around
Exactly.
it.
But
And, and it was
because we're sort of in it, I think people are like, wait, why is it suddenly so political? It's like, no, but it's always been
100%.
political.
Well, they're saying, well, why is it suddenly so political? Also, historically, well, they've aligned with what Iron Man and Superman and Captain America have been saying.
Interesting.
And now that we're seeing Superman support his bisexual son, they're like, well, hold on now. Well, why are you trying to shove this agenda down my throat? And I'm like, no, it's just because you have consumed so much brain rotting, hateful, bigoted media on fucking TikTok or Breitbart or wherever the fuck you get your nonsense. Now you look at a comic book and you think Superman is some crazy radical leftist thing. And
Right.
all he's ever done is say, yeah, support your kids, don't be an asshole, live up to the ideals of what America is supposed to represent. No, I did not say what America does represent.
Right. Yeah. No, it was an interesting thing to think about as an exercise.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, superheroes make these really big, scary conversations digestible and
Yeah.
accessible for everybody, regardless of your age. And I think that's what's so fantastic about comic books as a medium is they just are fantastic vehicles for us to talk about these issues that matter. And that's what we've always been using them for.
mhm.
In the Cold War, to talk about World War II, to talk about just diversity and immigration and women's rights. And yeah, they've always been political. And they've always, at the very least, had a commentary.
Right. And of course, literacy. If we're,
Well, exactly. Are we
that's
really,
a different conversation.
Really expecting... Yeah, okay.
The
same guys who are complaining that Superman is woke don't know the difference between your...
And your, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're allowed to argue with me about this if you can tell me the difference between there, and there, and your.
See, look at that. She can read.
Yes, she can. Do you read? Are you a reader?
I'm learning to read more. I think I really, really don't. And I could go off on a whole separate about this because I don't like the way that we teach reading in America. I don't think we incentivize it or make it a fun thing. I think we make it torture, and I think we make it and it doesn't help also. By the way, it doesn't fucking help. Let me get up on my soapbox for a second.
Give us a read on reading.
It doesn't help. It does not help that all of the classics that we're forced to read are just the same stories of like shitty white rich men being shitty white rich men. Lord of the Flies was just a bunch of boys behaving foolishly. I will never get over my hatred of Holden Caulfield. First of all, that whole book, I was like, fuck this kid. Why am I reading about him? Same thing with like even The Great Gatsby too is such a narrow view of that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But we are told that these are the stories that are the best ones we can possibly read, and these are the cornerstones of American literature. And I think for the vast majority of us, it's like, well, it becomes work.
Yeah,
and that we make reading not fun.
Listen,
here.
I was in the same boat, and then about 5 years ago, picked up a book because I think I was on vacation somewhere, and I was like, oh, let me pick up a book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, reading is fun. And then I like picked up another book, and then but I was
same thing
older than you.
Well, same thing happened to me. I was waiting for an Uber outside of Barnes & Noble, and I had like a 10-minute wait. And so I went in, and I picked up the first Throne of Glass book. And that's how I became a Sarah J. Maas girly. And now here I am reading fucking fan fiction on AO3. Get my fix.
That is amazing. I have not picked them up yet. I have a hard time with series because I just have I have a commitment issue with the series.
Muy caliente.
That's what I hear.
Chapter 55 is all I got
oh my God,
to
that's
say.
So funny.
And perhaps more than chapter 55. Chapter 42.
Are you being facetious, or do you actually?
I'm being so for real. The Court of Thorns and Roses girlies will know.
That is so funny.
A Court of Mist and Fury, chapter 42. Holy shit.
I'm going to Google it after this. Amazing. So funny.
No problem.
There's something that you did.
Oh God, I can't wait for this.
That brought up college trauma for Jason.
Oh God.
You did the thing that no one is supposed to do in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
You read the Facebook messages.
Okay, well, to be fair, I think I know we're not supposed to, but also I was already on a spree of mistrust because I asked him if he, and very normally, because I'm not like by nature a jealous person or anything. So I was like, and it's that he had lied to my face. And then when I found the drugs he was keeping in my dorm room, which I had also asked him about and he had lied to my face about, I was like, well, then all bets are off.
Yeah. So.
And now it's time to do some sleuthing.
Here, listen. College boyfriend, I watched him write a note in the back of his notebook and show it to his old boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. And I was like, what the hell is that? To anyone who's just listening, Nicole put on her reading glasses. And I was like, what was that? Like, what was that about? And
Yeah.
or I like gave him a moment to like tell me like did something
Yes, we
happen?
always give the option to come with us to the truth.
And he was doing his laundry in his dorm room, and I found the notebook and I pulled it out, and it had been erased, but you could still read it because it was like in
If
pencil.
you'd have been there, if you'd have seen it, I bet you would have done the same.
And we're
How could you
and we're
not that I
quoting
was
musical theater, girl.
yes. I don't tell you.
And it said, by the way, I didn't tell Jason about the kiss. I know.
No.
So my point is that A, I need to talk to my therapist about this because I think that's where my little jealousy nugget started. But B, we're valid.
Yes. Okay. Like I know it's wrong to do it, but when you find the shit, are you still in the wrong? Or
I know.
like, okay, perfect example. Rosemary's Baby. She was right about everything, but everyone treated her like she was crazy and acting like a buffoon. And then she found the cult. So she was
I
vindicated.
know. It's like,
She was so fucking the baby. I was really disappointed.
you know what?
She came in with that
When
face.
you
And I was like, girl, I'm on board.
when you were doing the Facebook sleuthing and when I was doing the back of the notebook sleuthing, the word gaslighting was not a thing. But we were
Okay.
being gaslit.
Yeah. I know my reality.
Yes. Okay.
I'm not sorry.
I needed to get this off my chest with you.
Hey now. I mean, hey now. We're asking the hard
Yes,
question.
we are. That's
If you find the shit, if you were right to look.
100%.
Okay.
Something that inspired me at the end of this book, and again, we're not spoiling anything. We don't do spoilers on Gay's reading, but it's your life story, so there's not much to spoil. But
No.
someone gives you the advice to use the best of what you have now because you'll come up with
Yes.
other stuff and maybe
Totally.
better stuff later. And
Yeah.
what a good way to live. Has that propelled you
Totally.
forward beyond writing?
Yeah, I think that's just great advice to live by.
Yeah.
The advice for anyone listening is from Tom Taylor, who's fantastic, also writer at DC Comics. That yeah, I think that's just like a really great way to live too. I think when you, it's just coming off of like, you know, one in the hand is worth two in the bush. Take with what you have and run with
Yeah.
that. If you get more later, and you will, it's great, and you have faith that you will come up with better shit, or you will come into better shit down the road. But if you have something you really, really like now, don't sit on
Well,
it.
and that's true for like life in general, right? Like
Yeah.
get rid of that.
Unless what you have right now was a boy, then definitely sit on it.
What I really meant was
And that's really good advice that I think
the idea of like, oh, well, I'm going to save this for later, or I'll do it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just not right
Right.
now. Oh, it's just not the time.
Right.
Oh, do it now.
Right, just do it now.
Do it
Oh,
now.
no,
You might get hit by a bus on the way home.
Exactly. Something you pose in the book that came up in one of your speeches that you gave is, how are any of us supposed to feel hopeful or secure in this freaking country?
Real.
And have you gotten any closer to an answer for that?
No.
Yeah.
If anything, I've gotten further.
Not to be so flippant about it or like simplistic about it. It gets better, except when it gets worse. And we are on that pendulum. And we have seen that back and forth. And unfortunately, we're sort of all collectively on the pendulum together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
So the only thing that I would say to listeners is vote, but vote every single time. It's the local elections. It's the state elections. If we can get this at every single level, then hopefully we can get people who actually give a shit about our protests and about our dissents and about the things that really fucking matter to us. And if you're one of those people that can stomach public office, run. People tell me that I should run for public office, and I'm like, no, I'll call someone the C word day one. And then I'll be out of there.
Yes. Maybe
I won't be able to do it.
Might be worth running just to do it. What?
Just as totally.
That's a good.
That's Maine's 2024.
Nicole Maines, you are so fun and so funny, and that's a weird thing to say coming out of like a very empowering moment. But there's something too about like we all need to get better at gaining empathy and sharing ourselves with
No.
people. And I think you do that so beautifully in your book.
Thank you.
And I think that for me is what turning to reading really did, hearing other people's stories,
Yeah.
and just learning from different perspectives. That's
Yeah,
it.
well,
There's
that's
voting,
this.
but there's also
Well, that's what it is. The way that we connect with other people is something my dad always says is by telling our stories and for sharing our experiences. Storytelling is how we connect to each other and how we empathize. So I hope that in reading this, I don't make anyone feel too alienated. But also, I wasn't really writing it with the intention of pulling a lot of punches. um, yeah, I really hope that at the very least it makes somebody feel seen
yeah,
in something, in their gender, in their feelings of hopelessness and in their anger. Um, there's so much that I put into this book that I really just wanted to feel like I got it off.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I've gone in for auditions where the trans character is very clearly like didn't get support at home, had to leave, did not get access to gender affirming care. She's in her mid-20s. She's only really just been able to start transitioning. And I'm like, I physically do not represent that version of
right,
transness. And neither is better or worse than the other. It's just that like that's not mine.
right,
And there is no one singular
right.
experience. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for
And
reading.
I don't know if you could see, authors love when I show them the tabs.
Ah,
Lots
thank
of book
you.
tabs. But I
Uh-oh.
love to read and listen at the same time if I can. And
Mhm.
your audiobook is fantastic.
Oh, good. I didn't know you got the audiobook too.
It is so good. Yeah, I read and
Oh my
listened at
God.
the same time. And the audiobook is so good.
Thank God I love that.
Yeah, they're not all good.
It'll
Not everyone is good at playing themselves. They get
Mhm.
very, I think, nervous about like
Real.
reading as themselves. And
Totally.
you did. I was very impressed.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That makes me so happy.
Nicole Maines, you're a delight. It
Thank
gets
you.
better, except when it gets worse. It's out now wherever books are sold.
Out now, yeah, exactly.
And
As of the time of
as
recording this, but
when you are listening, it is out
when
and you
you
can
are
buy it.
exactly. Who said time is linear? Not me, bitch.
No, it's not. But don't look back because it's not worth your time.
Exactly. It's Jeremy Bearimy.
It is Jeremy Bearimy. Good reference to end us off today. Do you want to like sing a Disney song on our way out? No, then I have to like buy rights.
We can't. We'll get taken down. We can't afford that.
No, the Gays Radio doesn't have a big budget. No, the Gays. Nicole, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having
So
me.
nice meeting you. Thank you for being here, being one of my guest gay readers, which is a fun generic term that we're using since the podcast is called Gays Reading.
I love it. When I opened this, I was like, that's the most fantastic podcast name I've ever heard. I'm in.
Perfect. I'm taking that as a pull quote. Thank you very much. For our listeners, you might know this guest gay reader as the front human of one of my favorite bands, Sammy Rae and the Friends.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Welcome, Sammy Rae. Are you a reader? And what do you read?
I like reading. When I do read, I like reading about real events. I like stumbling upon a book and being like, oh, I would love to learn about how many different sorts of trees are in the Amazon. Or I have this book that I really love that I visit time and time again, which is it's basically a science book, and it teaches you how to identify plants through patterns. So if the plant has a leaf shape like this or a leaf shape like this, you go follow down the little graph, and if it's got an even number, it's poisonous, and if it's got an odd number, you can eat it. But if it's this color, and so you're training your brain how to identify plants in the wild and like their classifications based on like patterns and things like the shape of the leaves, how many segments of the leaves, how many petals, does it have a pollen or what? So I like, if I'm going to sit down and read, I also feel this way about television because I do so much all the time. But if I'm going to sit down and dedicate upwards of an hour to something, I would like to learn something.
Fascinating. First of all, I've learned that if I ever go camping, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, I would like
because that I think is one of the things that makes me nervous about something like camping is not knowing what plant is going to poison me.
Oh, well, I mean, to be safe, don't eat the plants. You can bring your own food. Like in a dire situation where you're like, I'm stranded and nobody knows where I am, which a camper, you should not be backwoods camping.
That's fair.
Extended periods of time on uncharted land. But if you find yourself in that situation, there's a couple of really quick, like Boy Scout rules you can learn. But you can bring your own food.
I'm a very glass half full person, but I also think worst case scenario. You
must love true crime docs then. That's what it sounds like.
I honestly have a hard time with true crime docs because then I can't see them. How dare you?
When my partner's not home and I watch something spooky, I have to call them and be like, can you just talk to me until I'm under the covers? And they're just like, why? Why? I can remove myself from it until every now and then it's like, Brooklyn, 1986. You know, those serial killers running around. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's everything I see on TV.
I was reading like a horror thriller recently, which is not typically my genre.
Cool.
And some of the scenes, I had to squint my eyes because I couldn't I wasn't watching TV because
That is hilarious for you to be like, do I want to read what comes next?
And I was like, this is so lame. It's not even blocking anything out, but it was my initial instinct of how to protect myself.
It's like,
right. Okay, wait. So when you consume things on TV, it is things to learn. What are you watching? Documentaries, science things? What's something recently that you've watched?
I'm usually watching documentaries and science stuff. I mean, I'm a big David Attenborough fan. Like, let's learn about what's going on the planet fan. What's going on with weather patterns. That's really cool to me. I guess you could say
that doesn't stress you out.
Earth sciences? No, because, well, yeah, but like... You know,
that went from a no to a yes very quickly.
Well, it does stress me out, but like, listen, I can either be miserable and do nothing, or I can be educated and try to help those around me and contribute in the ways that I can. I can either like give birth to climate refugees or not have kids, and I've always wanted kids. Let me figure out where I can most safely have kids. You know what I mean? We go to the Catskills.
I love that.
Actually, interestingly, the Catskills region is kind of like climate scholars claim it to be one of the, it will see the dramatic effects of climate change sort of last in the U.S.
Really?
Which is interesting. So
I should cut that out of the podcast. We don't want the prices to go up too much in the Catskills.
I'll see you guys in Woodstock. I'll see you in Phoenicia.
Right.
You know. TV, it's that or it's documentaries. I recently watched the short series, The Secrets of the Blue Zones. Have you heard about this? A blue zone is a place in the world that has an unusually high concentration of centenarians, which are folks over the age of 100. And they call these places blue zones. And so this guy basically was traveling to all these different blue zones. And there's one, as you can imagine, like in the heart of Greece. There's quite a few in the end. But then interestingly, there was also one in northwest of the United States. And these folks were Adventist Latter-day Saints. And so many of them live past 100 because it's not just what you eat and your physical activity. It's like a sense of being part of something bigger and a sense of community. They also practice vegetarianism, which is interesting. And like being physically their faith practice, an important part of their lives. But then, then he's in Greece and he's like, oh, the secret to 100 is olive oil. Duh. And then he goes to Costa Rica and he's like, no, wait, never mind. What happens when you have beans and these corn? And he was really just kind of like unraveling the secrets of
longevity. Yeah. Where does the blue come in?
And as he was explaining it, there was a sort of like a seminal book written about the topic. And the guy was the original person who started to investigate what that helps people live so long. He was just like marking the map with a blue marker. And then he just started to call them blue zones.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. And then I think it was like, and it's something like a concentration of, I think they're called octogenarian, people between 80 and 100. Like that was something.
Oh, wow.
And it's insane. There's a 109-year-old man in Costa Rica who was like chopping wood and riding horses and like using his upper body.
Did you change anything in your life after watching that?
You're asking all the hard hitters.
Well, I'm curious for my own. I'm like, oh, am I going to watch this and suddenly become a vegetarian?
I loved. There were two things that stuck out to me. One, which was passive exercise. There's this huge concentration of folks in Okinawa who live a really long time for this same reason, which is there's a lot of stairs and there's very limited furniture. So old folks are climbing stairs all the time, and they're also going down to the floor to sit and then getting themselves up all day long. And that's a joint use and exercise you don't think about. So I've been doing a little more of just like when I'm going up the stairs, I'm engaging my core. And like if I am on a really long train ride or something, when I get off and I stand up, I'll make sure I have a little stretch. I need to sit on it. I could stand. Because people think, oh, well, you live long. So much of it's diet. Some of it is diet too, but it's things like that, like passive exercise, or if you're milling corn all day long, or if you're somebody's nana and you're this big giant pot with both hands. And then the other really interesting thing was companionship. There was this ridiculous statistic, like in the United States, if your long-term partner passes away, something like you're 30% more to die in the next 3 years than you would be otherwise.
Wow.
Just insane. So those are question marks. I'm not certain that was, it
Sure,
really
sure.
resonated,
But
I'm not
like
certain those were
the number was high.
Yeah. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm feeling down. What will I do? I might go see my friend and strengthen our relationship that we might be friends into old age or something, you know?
Oh my God. That is amazing. And good hot tips in general.
Thanks. This is
Worth
pretty-
watching the
this-
doc for that.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. That was pretty unhinged, what I just said, but I meant it. I meant everything.
No, I don't think so. Might you say that in watching that documentary, there was something for everybody?
You're so cute. The segue of segues. Yeah, I guess so.
Congrats on the new album.
Oh my God, thanks. I'm beaming. I'm beaming. Thank you.
But first full length, is that correct?
It's true.
It's
Yeah,
so
well.
crazy. Meanwhile, I'm like, I've had you on repeat for a very long time, so I've just assumed that all of the albums have been full.
Very nice of you to say, and I will say that every single individual, both peers and professionals and friends and family alike, every single one of them, we're in the studio. We're working on our first full length album. Everybody goes, no. I was like, yeah. Well, an EP is one thing. And so an EP stands for extended play, which is between a single and 6 songs. And then long play is an LP, which is a full length album. That's 6 or more. And of course, there's a single play, which is just 1. So we have 2 EPs, and then the rest of it is just standalone singles. But we only had like 14 songs, and we literally doubled our discography when we put out the album.
Wow.
But it's a good problem to have. But there's only so many tours where I can play The Feeling and then go into Talk It Up and then go into Jackie O, and then, you know what I mean? Like, we needed more material. Otherwise,
Right. Because otherwise people have seen it already.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure
Totally.
people love hearing the songs that they know really well, but I'm sure,
Right.
It's reason to go to new places. And
Of those however many songs we have, there's only really 1 or 2 that you can open the show with. Sometimes we would open with Follow Me Like the Moon, but we're certainly not going to open with The Box, or we're certainly not going to hit you right in the face with the homosexuality of Jackie Onassis right at the top.
what?
Right? So it's
That is a way to weed out the crowd just in case.
oh my God. Yeah, the rainbow lights come up, the fans.
In case you were wondering if we're queer.
It's very much giving. We're here, we're queer, we're spheres.
Yes. Oh my God.
But yeah, so I guess like it was just time to get off the road and make more music.
I
Yes,
have
don't
2
care.
ideas that I'm like, these are Sammy Rae and the Friends musicals that we'll talk about another day. But
Wait, you want to tell me what they are? Off the record.
no, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I want to steal them.
This is a dream. Because the tough thing about not being on the road, being stationary, is you don't make money. And it also feels good to be going back on the road, not to just generate income, but like to work and fulfilled, right? Reading and doing the thing that you're supposed to do. And it is thrilling and exhilarating to do that while in motion and traveling. But I would also love, and I have always had this sort of dream, being down and doing Broadway for a couple months, or I'm like freshly postpartum or something, and I'm commuting from my apartment to Broadway, and there's a couple of roles that I would put the Friends on hold for, because I come from theater, but the idea of writing a musical has always been really attractive to me. I wrote a full-length straight play in high school. It was a comedy.
Now you should musicalize it.
Some Friends music would actually make a lot of sense with that plot. Okay, brilliant idea.
Heard it here first.
Yes.
Funny. I'm so excited for you and the new LP, the first LP. If anyone is unfamiliar with Sammy Rae and the Friends, first of all, go listen wherever you listen to your music. But also, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to the Let's Throw a Party video.
That's so fun.
Out of control.
Thank you.
If you have not fallen in love with Sammy Rae and the Friends already, you will as soon as you're done listening to this episode.
This is so nice. You're so kind.
That's what the gays who read are here for. Anyway, thank you for joining me on Gays Reading. You're a delight. And even though you're not a big reader, what you read is important to the world.
That's
So
nice
thank you for
of to
changing the
say.
world.
Thanks.
One little book at a time.
Oh.
Have a great tour. Where can
Thank
people find you?
You can find us on Instagram at Sammy Rae Music, or you can find our website, www.sammyrae.com, SAMMYRAE, by the way. And
just gonna
we're
say.
called Sammy Rae and the Friends, and we're a 7-piece band that does a little bit of everything, and we're based in Brooklyn, New York.
I know. And everyone's going to become obsessed with you.
I hope. I'm obsessed with everybody, so. I literally wrote an album for everybody. It's because I'm obsessed with everybody.
Yes. And that's why we're grateful to you. All of us. All of the everybody. I'm
Aw.
representing.
I love it. Thank you so much. Oh, so good to meet you, Jason.
Very good to meet you too. Have a great rest of your day. Sammy Rae, thank you so much for being here. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to check out her new book. Make sure to check out Sammy Rae wherever you listen to your music. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Gays Reading, and I'll see you next week. Bye.